Welcome to Tax Insights, presented by Hawkins Ash CPAs.
And good morning, listeners. Welcome back to Tax Insight here on WOMT with Jeff from Hawkins Ash. Jeff, good morning, sir.
Good morning, Terry.
Today we're talking about kids' wages and business and retirement plans. A lot of stuff going on today.
Right. Because as we continue to talk about tax planning here for the end of the year, we've been talking a lot about doing the opposite of what we normally suggest and, pull income into the current year rather than trying to defer it in the next year. Well, another good way to save on taxes is to hire family members in your business. And, that's something that can still be done here before the end of the year.
So let's talk about the advantages of hiring family members and putting them on payroll.
Yeah, there's three big ones. You can move income from a higher bracket of the parents to a lower bracket of the children. Family members can then contribute to retirement plans, whether it be IRAs, 401ks, things like that. And you can use some of these funds to pay for expenses or maybe even school.
So we talked about tax brackets last week. Talk to us a little bit more about that right now.
Sure. When we talked about tax brackets last week, I noted that, tax brackets go from like 0% up to 37%. And that 37% may go as high as even, 39.6%. Well, what works really well is for parents that are in the higher bracket, let's say 32, 37%, if you pay your child $5,000, $10,000, or up to $12,000, which is the standard deduction limit, that child is going to pay 0% income tax. And depending on the type of business, family members might need to pay some Social Security and Medicare, but when you net out the savings of the income tax minus what they'd have to pay for Social Security and Medicare, a family could still save like $2,000 for every $10,000 of salary that they pay to the child.
Wow. So then you mentioned retirement plans. Tell us a little bit more.
This works really well for spouses. You can pay your spouse the same type of thing, $5,000, $10,000, or even $20,000. Then, depending on the type of retirement plan that the business has, that spouse can then take the income and contribute it into a retirement plan. This works the same way as we talked about with children. It allows for that income to be tax-free for income taxes, and all they need to do is pay federal, or all they need to pay is Social Security and Medicare. So once again, the tax savings could be $2,000 for every $10,000 that's paid to the spouse and then contributed to their retirement plan.
So, and for a child, they can make a Roth IRA contribution. Is that correct?
That's what even makes this better yet, because as long as that child has earned income, and they now have earned income because they're receiving a wage from their parents' business, they can contribute that into a Roth IRA. Now, the child gets no tax deduction, but it doesn't matter. They don't need it as long as you keep them under the standard deduction. That amount grows free. So, they never have to pay tax on either the amount they contribute or the growth. And you can take these contributions out for anything, including college.
So speaking of school then, can the business pay for a child's education?
It can, but it's really complicated and the circumstances have to be exactly right. What I would do is I would hire your child, and set the funds aside and use those funds to pay for college. It takes a little bit of planning, but it can be done. It takes that 0% wage income, for federal and state purposes, set it aside, and you can use that money to pay for college.
Jeff, last question here because time is running up here, but can a child be paid any amount?
They can, but the wages have to be justified for the amount of work that they do. You can't just pay them for doing nothing. So what I suggest is, get that work permit if it's required, have the child or spouse keep a timesheet, and make sure you have an accurate job description.
Jeff, a lot of great information each and every week here in Tax Insight. How do listeners connect with the team at Hawkins Ash?
I would go right to our website, which is hawkinsash.cpa.
Jeff, thank you for your time. We'll talk to you next week on WMT.
This has been Tax Insights, presented by Hawkins Ash CPAs. Learn more online at hawkinsashcpas.com. Hawkins Ash CPAs, part of your business, part of your life.